You ever watch someone ruin something beautiful just because they can? That's what happened when Karen from our homeowners association, God, that woman, marched right up with a rusty chainsaw and started chopping down my seawall trees. 3 minutes later, I swear to you, the ocean itself rose up like it was pissed off on my behalf. I was standing on my porch, mug of coffee halfway to my lips, when the buzzing roar of her chainsaw split the morning air. Brrrrrmm. Branches cracked. Leaves flew and my stomach nodded. What the hell are you doing? I shouted, nearly spilling hot coffee down my shirt. She didn't even flinch. She smirked, and yelled back. HOA guidelines say those trees are unauthorized landscaping. They block the view. Her voice had that grating, self-righteous edge, like nails on a chalkboard. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. Those trees weren't just decoration. They'd been there for decades, planted by my grandfather, roots sunk deep into the seawall, holding the soil firm against the Atlantic's moods. Karen, those trees protect the dam barrier. Without them, that wall won't stand a storm surge. My words came out ragged, desperate, but she just waved me off like I was some fool kid. Oh please, she sneered, revving the chainsaw again. It's my right to enjoy an ocean view. If you wanted privacy, you should have bought somewhere else. God, I could taste the bitterness on my tongue. I wanted to rip that chainsaw out of her hands. Instead, I just stood there, helpless, watching limb after limb tumble, the air thick with the smell of fresh sap and gasoline. My dog barked furiously at the chaos, his claws scratching the deck. The whole neighborhood began to peek out, whispers carrying, doors creaking open, blinds shifting. Everyone knew this was crossing the line, but nobody dared step in. Karen ruled our homeowners association like a damn queen. Then it happened. A sound. Low. Guttural. Like the earth groaning. At first I thought it was just the echo of the chainsaw. But no. It was deeper. Stronger. My stomach dropped as I looked past her. Out to sea. The horizon. It was rising. Oh my God. I muttered. The ocean had gone strangely still for a breath. Like it was holding something back and then, whoosh, a monstrous wave, easily 20 feet tall, came roaring in. The sound like thunder tearing open the sky. Karen froze, chainsaw slipping from her hands, clattering uselessly onto the rocks. Karen, move. I screamed. She turned. Too slow, her face draining of color. The wave slammed against the now bare seawall, water exploding upward, crashing over her with a force that rattled the earth. I swear I felt the deck shake under my feet. She screamed. A high, sharp wail cut short as the surge ripped her off balance. For a second, just a horrifying second, I saw her body flailing in the foam, hair plastered to her face, mouth wide open in shock. I ran, feet pounding, lungs burning, every step slamming into the wood of the boardwalk. My neighbors shouted behind me, voices panicked. Chaotic chorus. Call 911. Oh my God. She's gone. Someone grab a rope. The air reeked of salt and fear. The water dragged her out, then slammed her back, tossing her like a rag doll. She clawed at the rocks, nails scraping, face twisted in terror. For once, her arrogance was gone. Just raw, naked fear. She sputtered, choking on seawater, her screams breaking into ragged sobs. Hang on, I yelled, grabbing the railing, leaning so far I nearly toppled in. My hands burned as I clutched a loose line someone threw me. I didn't even know if I wanted to save her. God forgive me. This woman had tormented us for years. Petty fines, endless complaints, nasty letters. She'd destroyed my grandfather's trees out of spite. And yet, there she was, seconds away from being dragged under. I tossed the rope, my chest heaving. Grab it. Damn it. She did. Barely. her knuckles white, body shaking, water still hammering her. Behind her, another swell built, darker. Taller. Pull her in. Someone screamed, a man's voice hoarse with panic. A group of us heaved, every muscle straining. My arms screamed in pain, rope biting into my palms. The wave slammed again, tearing her halfway loose, and for a breath I thought we'd lose her. But somehow, we got her up, gasping, coughing, collapsing onto the boardwalk like a broken doll. She vomited seawater, her chest heaving with wet, ragged sobs. And then, silence. Just the hiss of the retreating tide, the faint creak of broken branches. Neighbors staring wide-eyed, horrified. Karen lay there, trembling, mascara streaked down her face, gasping like a fish. Her eyes met mine, wide, bloodshot, filled with something I'd never seen in her before. Not power, not superiority. Fear. Utter, gut-deep fear. I crouched down, shaking my head, voice low, bitter. Those trees you cut down, they were the only reason that wall stood against storms. My grandfather knew it. I knew it. But you just had to have your damn view. Her lips trembled. I didn't know. Yeah, I said, voice sharp, eyes stinging with tears of rage and adrenaline. You never know. You just take. The neighbors didn't clap, didn't cheer. They just looked at her, this woman who had terrorized the community for years, like the ocean had stripped her bare. And maybe it had. But the bitter twist. A week later, the Homeowners Association held an emergency meeting. And Karen, soaked, humiliated, still nursing bruises, marched in with her lawyers. She claimed I'd endangered her by failing to maintain a safe shoreline. Can you believe that? She nearly died because of her own arrogance, and she still found a way to twist it into my fault. The case dragged for months. Legal letters, threats, sleepless nights. The neighborhood divided, some siding with me, others terrified of Karen's power. Every time I thought it couldn't get worse, another notice showed up in my mailbox. And then, the final gut punch. The insurance company refused to cover the seawall damage. They said the removal of the trees, a voluntary homeowners association action, invalidated the claim. Translation: I was left with a shattered seawall, thousands in repairs and no protection when the next storm season rolled in. So what happened to Karen? She didn't win the lawsuit. The court saw through her lies. Thank God. But she didn't lose either. The judge called it a community matter and tossed it out. She walked free. Free to glare at me across the street. Free to sip her wine by the pool and act like nothing happened. The bitter truth. Karma came for her that day on the seawall, in the cold grip of the ocean. But it didn't stay. It let her crawl back onto land, alive enough to keep tormenting us. And me, I was left rebuilding. Not just the wall, but every ounce of faith I'd had in fairness, in justice. Some nights, when the wind howls and the waves crash against the rocks, I stand on my porch and close my eyes. I hear the roar of that monster wave, the shriek of Karen's voice as it pulled her under, the crack of branches falling, my dog barking, neighbors screaming. I taste the salt in the air, feel the sting of the rope in my palms. And I wonder, did the ocean make a mistake letting her go? Or did it know the cruelest punishment of all was leaving her alive, trapped in her own fear every time she hears the sea? Because sometimes, the scariest waves are the ones still coming. And if you enjoyed this wild Homeowners Association Karen drama, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more insane true life stories. Thank you. She accused me of fraud. Me. All because I had too many packages on my porch? Turns out, the real fraudster was the same woman ringing HOA bells and wagging her finger at everyone else. It started on a Tuesday, one of those muggy, sticky Florida mornings where even the cicadas sound annoyed. I had just stepped out onto my porch, barefoot, coffee in hand, when I spotted her again. Karen. Beige sun hat, clipboard, and that look. You know the one. Like she smelled something sour, but couldn't quite place it. She stood across the street, arms folded, glaring at my porch like it had personally insulted her. I had 6 packages waiting, just supplies for my small resin art business. Nothing fancy, just bulk pigment, silicone molds, and a new set of UV lamps. I waved like a civil person. She didn't wave back. Instead, I saw her pull out her phone, snap a photo, and stomp back toward her house like she just won a round in court. A chill ran through me, and it wasn't the weather. Something about the way she walked made my stomach twist. 2 days later, I got an email from the HOA Compliance Board. Suspicious activity reported, possible commercial operations in a residential zone. What? I gasped out loud, nearly dropping my coffee. I told them when I moved in. I worked from home. My LLC was registered. I paid my taxes, and my packages never blocked the walkway. I didn't have customers coming over. No signage. No noise. Nothing. I called the HOA office. Ms. Landry, we received a report with photographic evidence of consistent high-volume package deliveries to your address, said the woman on the other end, her voice robotic. Photographic evidence? You mean Karen's iPhone snaps? The woman paused. We can't confirm the identity of the complainant, right? And I'm the Queen of England. I sighed, rubbed my temples, and asked, so now what? We'll need to conduct a compliance check next week. If you are found in violation, fines may be issued. Great, just great. I sat back, staring at the wall, heart pounding. All because some nosy neighbor thought she smelled something fishy. But I wasn't the one stinking up the block. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind spun like a busted fan. I kept replaying every encounter I'd had with Karen in the past year, every smug smirk, every friendly HOA reminder left on my door. Every time she called the landscaping crew to measure my lawn blade by blade. And then it hit me. She never got mail. Not once had I seen a delivery at her place. No Amazon vans, no boxes, no grocery drop-offs. Nothing. Weird, right? In 2025? Curiosity got the better of me. So, the next morning, I set up my old wildlife cam facing the street disguised as a decorative solar lantern. Nothing invasive. Just enough to catch traffic. I waited 3 days. Nothing unusual. Then, Friday afternoon, a beat-up silver hatchback pulled up outside her place. No logos, no license plate, just a skinny guy in a hoodie and sunglasses. He grabbed 3 bubble mailers from the trunk, jogged up to Karen's side door, and was gone in less than a minute. What the hell? Then it happened again the next day. Different driver. More unmarked packages. I recorded it all. I thought about calling the HOA, but let's be real. They weren't going to bite the hand that feeds them cookies at board meetings. So I dug deeper. Online. I pulled up Karen's full name from an old HOA newsletter. Karen Elsbeth Downing. Facebook. Locked. LinkedIn. Deleted. But then, on an old Etsy scam subreddit, I found a post from someone in another state. Beware seller LSDG Designs never received item. Fake tracking. No refunds. The user had posted screenshots of messages, and one of them showed a partial address. I squinted. Holy crap, that was our street. My heart skipped. I cross-checked the scam name on other platforms. eBay, Depop, Mercury. The same handle popped up again and again. Different products, different photos, same scam behavior. Always the same deal: collect payment, send a fake USPS tracking number, then ghost. And every complaint was recent. Within the last 3 months. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but if the porch fits, I sent the footage and a full report to the local sheriff's department tip line. I included screenshots, dates, license plates, once I caught them, and a typed-up explanation of how Karen had targeted me for package volume while quietly running a shady operation out her side door. Then I waited, nervously, anxiously. By the next week, my compliance check came and went. They found no violations, no fines, just a mumbled apology from a new HOA assistant who looked embarrassed to be there. But Karen? She wasn't so lucky. 2 days later, 3 unmarked cars rolled up around noon. 1 sheriff's deputy. 2 guys in button-downs, made postal inspectors or some federal fraud division. I didn't care. I watched from behind my blinds as they knocked on her door. She opened it with that usual pinched expression, probably ready to file another complaint about someone's recycling bin being visible. But when the badge came out, her face changed. Her shoulders stiffened. Her mouth fell open. I saw her start shaking her head, then flailing her hands. They didn't flinch. They stepped inside. A neighbor from down the street walked over to me as it all unfolded. "You seeing this?" she asked, voice low. I nodded. "She's been running a scam. Mail fraud, looks like." The woman blinked. "Karen? Are you serious?" I glanced back at the porch where one of the officers was now carrying out a black duffel bag. Dead serious. We watched in silence as Karen was escorted out 20 minutes later. Still in her robe, hair frizzed out like a cartoon villain after a lightning strike. I don't even think she had time to put on shoes. But here's where the twist hits. You ready? Turns out, the HOA president Susan, sweet elderly Susan, was in on it. Apparently, Karen was running the online stores, and Susan was laundering the payments through a non-profit HOA consulting service. She claimed was for community development. More like community deception. They both got hit with charges. Mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and 1 count of obstruction because Susan tried to delete HOA records once the heat came down. And the best part? The lawsuit. Yep. A class action suit was filed by over 20 buyers who got scammed online, once my video was made public and the scam accounts were traced. The lawyer representing them even reached out to Mefford to name me as a key witness, and possibly help sue the HOA itself for harassment and targeting based on Karen's false reports. You think I said no? Please. I've been waiting for this. With Karen and Susan both under federal investigation, the entire HOA board scrambled like roaches under kitchen lights. People started questioning every rule, every fine, every suspicious vote that had passed in the last year. Turns out, Susan had funneled HOA funds to consulting services linked to Karen's shell companies. Fraud ran deep, and neighbors who once clutched their pearls at my package count now looked at me with something else entirely. Respect. A special meeting was called. The community voted unanimously to dissolve the current HOA leadership and bring in outside legal oversight. The attorney for the victims, a sharp woman named Melinda Kerr, filed a massive civil lawsuit naming Karen, Susan, and get this, the HOA itself for facilitating fraud through abuse of power and cover-ups. When Melinda asked me to testify about the forged complaints and harassment, I didn't even hesitate. You think I forgot the sleepless nights, the knot in my chest, the way Karen made me second-guess my own integrity? No, I remembered everything. And when Karen finally showed up in court, hair dyed a desperate brown. No sun hat in sight, she didn't look so smug anymore. She pled not guilty, but the evidence spoke volumes. The recordings, the packages, the subreddit posts, the tax records. Every lie she built was falling apart like wet cardboard. The community healed slowly. Trust doesn't come easy after betrayal like that. But neighbors talked more. We looked out for each other. A new, transparent HOA board was voted in on with no Karens, no Susans, and no backdoor deals. And me? My resin shop grew, with the support of people who now knew my name for the right reasons. Funny how karma works, huh? So the next time someone accuses you out of nowhere, asks too many questions, or tries to make you doubt yourself, look closer. They might be hiding the biggest secret of all. And if you're into justice served cold with a side of sweet lawsuit revenge, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more wild true stories from the neighborhood frontline. I wish I were exaggerating, but I'm not. Karen, yes, the infamous HOA Karen of our neighborhood, actually climbed into our backyard, uninvited, and did something so vile that I still feel my stomach twist when I think about it. She peed in our jacuzzi, right there in broad daylight, just to scare my kids away. Who even does that? What kind of deranged person thinks, oh, I'll just trespass and humiliate myself to make a point? The first time I caught her leaning over our fence, I brushed it off as harmless curiosity. She's just nosy, I told myself, trying to stay calm. But when I saw her grinning, like she owned the place, while my children played by the pool, I started feeling that slow, boiling anger crawl up my spine. She'd scream things like, "Children shouldn't be splashing in my peaceful neighborhood." Or, "This isn't a water park, you know?" I thought I'd heard it all from Karen. Oh, I was wrong. It was last weekend, sunny and perfect. My kids were laughing, chasing each other with water guns, the kind of simple joy every parent loves. Then suddenly, this shrill, furious voice pierced the air. "Enough! I'll make sure you brats never use that filthy water again." The gate rattled. I ran toward the backyard, my heart pounding. What I saw next is burned into my brain. Karen, with her over-bleached hair and a face scrunched into some kind of grotesque victory grin, yanked open the side gate. She stomped toward the jacuzzi, muttering, "You think you can ignore me? I'll show you." Before I could process what was happening, she climbed right in, shoes and all. My kids froze, confused and horrified. And then she did it. She squatted, her face daring me to stop her, and peed. "What is wrong with you?" I screamed, my voice cracking. My youngest burst into tears. My oldest shouted, "Mom, she's disgusting." I couldn't move for a moment. I just stood there, my hands trembling, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Karen climbed out, water dripping from her jeans, smirking like she had just won some twisted battle. "Now your little pool party is over," she sneered. "Maybe next time you'll follow the HOA rules and keep the noise down." She shoved past me, muttering something about unruly children, as she slammed the gate behind her. I swear I could feel my blood boiling. Who the hell did she think she was? Noise complaints are one thing. Peeing in someone's private jacuzzi, that's biological warfare. For a split second, I thought about calling the police. But I knew Karen, she'd spin some wild tale about being threatened or defending the neighborhood's peace. So instead, I did something even better. That night I couldn't sleep. My brain kept replaying the scene, the look on my kids' faces. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about me. Karen had bullied everyone in the neighborhood. She sent nasty notes about trash cans being an inch out of line. She fined a retired couple for having too many flowers in their front yard. Can you imagine? Flowers. Everyone was scared of her. Everyone whispered, but nobody stood up. Until now. The next morning, I called a few neighbors. "You're not going to believe what Karen did," I said, my voice still shaking. By noon, word had spread like wildfire. The Johnsons, who had been fined 3 times for their ugly mailbox, came over with iced tea and a sympathetic ear. "You should record her next time," Mrs. Johnson whispered. "She's losing it. We all know it." I didn't have to wait long. 2 days later, Karen showed up again, this time with her phone out, recording my children as they played. "I'm gathering evidence," she snapped when I confronted her. "Your kids are a nuisance. They're damaging property values with all their noise." "Property values?" I laughed bitterly. "Karen, they're just laughing and playing. Do you even hear yourself?" Her face twisted. "You'll see. I run this HOA, you'll regret crossing me." She stomped off, but not before pointing a finger at me like some kind of deranged villain. That was my breaking point. I set up cameras. Not just 1, 4. Front yard, backyard, side gate, and right above the jacuzzi. "Come on, Karen," I muttered as I adjusted the angles. "Try something now." Oh, she tried. The following Friday, while we were having a small barbecue, I saw her lurking near the fence again. Her head popped up like some creepy meerkat, eyes narrowed. I didn't react. I just let the cameras roll. Sure enough, she came back after dark. We caught her shaking our fence, muttering to herself, "Brats think they can outsmart me." But the real moment came on Saturday. Karen, apparently emboldened by whatever insanity fueled her, decided to repeat her stunt. She climbed into the yard again, muttering, "This will teach them," and yes, aimed for the jacuzzi. The cameras caught everything. The sound, the face, the whole humiliating act. I uploaded the footage to a shared neighborhood group chat. No caption, no context, just the raw video. Within minutes, my phone blew up. "What the actual hell?" someone wrote. "She's completely unhinged," another neighbor added. "Isn't that illegal?" The outrage spread like a wildfire. By nightfall, Karen was the talk of the block. Someone even shared the video on a local community forum. The comments were brutal. Did Karen back down? Of course not. She came pounding on my door the next day, her face red and trembling with rage. "You invaded my privacy," she shrieked. "Take that video down or I'll sue you." I stood there, arms crossed, barely suppressing a laugh. "Privacy? On my property? After you trespassed and—" I shook my head. "Go ahead. Sue me. The police already have a copy of that footage." Her mouth fell open. For once, she had no words. But it didn't end there. Oh no, this was just getting started. Karen's bravado crumbled faster than I expected. The moment the HOA board saw the footage, they called an emergency meeting. I wasn't even planning to attend, but Mrs. Johnson practically dragged me there. "You need to see this," she whispered with a grin. The usually stiff-faced board members were pale, shifting uncomfortably in their seats, as Karen shouted over everyone. "This is a witch hunt," she screeched, slamming her palm on the table. "That video is fake. Do you think I'd actually—" "Karen," one of the board members interrupted, his voice trembling but firm. "It's literally you, on camera, trespassing and urinating. We can't defend this." The room went silent. Even Karen seemed stunned. For the first time, her power slipped. She tried to regain it, pointing at me with that familiar venom. "She provoked me. Her kids are menaces. This is all a setup." "Enough," another board member said sharply. "The HOA is liable for this behavior. We're suspending you from all board activities effective immediately." Karen's jaw dropped. I swear I heard her whisper, "You can't do this," like a broken record. Oh, they could. I walked out of that meeting feeling like I'd just won a war, but the real victory came a week later when I got a call from a local news station. Apparently, the video had gone viral. They wanted to do a segment about neighborhood disputes gone wrong. I didn't even have to say much. The footage spoke for itself. The cherry on top. The police officially opened a trespassing and harassment case against Karen. My lawyer, yes, I finally called one, laughed when I told him what happened. "You've got her cornered," he said. "We're filing a civil lawsuit for property damage and emotional distress. Trust me, she won't see this coming." Karen tried everything to wiggle out of it, fake apologies, letters, even a half-hearted attempt to settle. But no, my kids still have nightmares about that day, and no parent should let something like that slide. I pressed forward. When the sheriff's office showed up to serve Karen the lawsuit papers, the entire neighborhood watched from their porches. It was poetic. Her face went from red to ghost white. "This isn't over," she shouted. But nobody believed her anymore. Even her so-called friends from the HOA had turned their backs. Justice doesn't always come in a perfect package. But this time it did. Our yard is peaceful again. The jacuzzi, drained, disinfected, and refilled. My kids are laughing freely the way they used to. And as for Karen, she's too busy drowning in legal bills to bother us anymore. If you enjoyed this wild HOA showdown and want more crazy stories of karma, revenge, and jaw-dropping justice, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel because the next lawsuit story will blow your mind. She's running a scam. Shut it down before someone gets poisoned. That shriek, sharp as broken glass, ripped through our peaceful Saturday morning farmer's market. I looked up from my hand-labeled honey jars just in time to see Karen, blonde bob, wide sunglasses, HOA badge swinging like she was on patrol, charging toward my booth like she owned the town. I blinked. Wait, what? I'd been selling homemade honey balm and herbal salves for 5 months straight. Every permit inspected, every recipe approved, and every customer returning. My shop was small, tidy, tucked in the corner near the lavender growers. Peaceful. So what the hell was she screaming about? "You don't even have a license for these fake creams," she screeched, snatching one of my jars, shoving it in a canvas bag like it was evidence from a crime scene. "I'm filing a lawsuit against you for fraud." Fraud. My breath caught. I stood frozen. Then I laughed, one of those awkward, "Is this actually happening?" laughs. "Karen, you've seen my permit. You were at the HOA inspection last month." Her eyes narrowed. "I know a fraud when I see one. Is that before or after your backyard Botox parties?" I muttered under my breath. She spun on her heels. "Excuse me?" Oh, here we go. The people at the booths around us had started whispering. A kid holding kettle corn stopped mid-chew. Mrs. Lowenstein from the baked goods table stepped back, clutching her lemon bars like she was preparing to shield them. "Karen," I said slowly, calmly, even though my hands were shaking, "I have a business license, a health inspection sign-off, and all of my ingredients are traceable. You know that." She crossed her arms and hissed, "It's all forged. I'm reporting this whole operation." That word forget me like a slap. It wasn't just slander. It was war. Clenched my jaw. "And what exactly are you selling again?" "Skincare, isn't it? Out of your garage with no ingredient labels, no FDA registration, and definitely no permits." Her lips curled. "People trust me. I don't need paperwork." I gasped loudly. "So it's true. You are running an illegal cosmetics operation." She smiled smugly, like she thought she was untouchable. "People pay for results, not red tape." That was her fatal flaw. She underestimated how many people she'd already burned. 2 booths down, Delilah woman who ran the organic soaps stand stepped up. "Actually, I used Karen's serum last month. My face broke out in hives for a week. She told me I must be too sensitive for quality products." Another woman chimed in. "She sold me something she swore had collagen. It smelled like rubbing alcohol and turned my skin green." Karen started to turn pale. I stepped from behind my table, holding up my phone. "I have screenshots, Karen, of your sales posts, your ingredient claims, and even that Facebook comment where you said you'd never need FDA approval because they're all corrupt anyway. Want to test that in court?" She lunged at me. "Give me that." I sidestepped her like a reflex. She stumbled into my herb crate and tripped over a box of calendula oils. Glass cracked. A bottle rolled away and shattered with a soft pop. "You lunatic!" she shrieked from the ground. One sandal off, hair sticking to her sweat-shiny forehead. "I'm the one protecting this neighborhood from your fraud." "You mean the same fraud you're actively committing?" I asked, smiling. "You're not just selling unregulated skincare. You're doing it from a home under HOA restrictions that explicitly ban commercial production of beauty products on residential property." "I've read the bylaws." Someone in the crowd let out a low whistle. Another voice, deep and cool, cut through the murmurs. "That's correct." We turned. Standing behind Karen was Anthony Tran, our HOA legal compliance officer. Clipboard, sunglasses, calm as ever. Karen froze. "Anthony, thank God. She's the one poisoning people." Anthony raised an eyebrow. "Actually, I've been quietly investigating several resident reports for the past 3 weeks. Karen, your operation is not only in violation of our HOA rules, but also constitutes health code violations and potential felony fraud." She blinked. "What? No, that's impossible. To have clients. I make money." "That doesn't make it legal," he replied coolly. "Also, your bank records indicate you claimed HOA business deductions for your skin lab. That's tax fraud." You could feel the air change, heavy, hot, tense. Karen stammered. "But no, that was my accountant." Anthony turned to me. "Ma'am, would you be willing to share those screenshots? We may need them for the formal complaint." I nodded. "Absolutely." Karen jumped to her feet, red-faced. "You can't do this to me. I'm on the board." "I am the board." Anthony nodded once. "Actually, you're not. You were removed at last month's emergency vote. Your behavior at the last meeting triggered Article 6 of our ethics clause." She blinked again. "You what?" I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then I remembered how she'd humiliated me in public, called me a criminal, grabbed my products like a self-appointed sheriff. I looked her in the eye. "Karen, you messed with the wrong beekeeper. This isn't over," she screamed, voice cracking. "I'll sue all of you." Anthony calmly replied, "You'll need a lawyer." And probably a new lawyer once your current one hears what you're charged with. The crowd had gathered tighter, now phones out, whispers flitting like leaves in wind. Karen's eyes darted around, realizing too late she had no allies left. Suddenly, a twist no one expected. Delilah held up a jar. This looks just like one Karen gave me. Same packaging, same color. I glanced at it. My blood ran cold. That's my jar, I whispered. But that's not my label. Anthony took it carefully. Looks like she reused your packaging to pass off her own products. That's not just fraud, it's theft. Karen bolted. She ran barefoot, half-dressed, hair flailing behind her through rows of vendors and shocked customers. Someone gasped. Someone else yelled, "Call the sheriff!" But she didn't get far. A deputy was already waiting near the exit. Guess Anthony had planned ahead. I watched her go down with a strange mix of disbelief and satisfaction. Her shrieks faded behind the booths as the cuffs clicked shut. The crowd began to murmur again. The market resumed slowly, like someone had hit play on a paused scene. And I stood there, among my broken glass and spilled oils, heart pounding. Justice has a strange scent, part fear, part relief, part lavender and honey. By the time the deputy escorted her out in handcuffs, Karen wasn't screaming anymore. She was shaking. I stood behind my table, arms crossed, heart pounding in that weird, buzzing way adrenaline leaves behind. My jars were still scattered, some cracked, some sticky with honeyed balm, but I didn't care. Not anymore. People started clapping. Slowly at first. Then more joined in like a wave of relief washing over the entire row. Vendors, neighbors, even that old man who always grumbled about my prices gave me a thumbs up. Anthony came back over with the jar and handed it to me in an evidence bag. We'll be adding trademark infringement and resale fraud to the charges. Your product labels were literally photocopied. I gave a long, slow exhale. So she tried to frame me using my own work. She didn't think anyone would connect the dots, he said. But lawsuits leave trails. And you documented everything. I smiled, finally feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. Thank God I'm paranoid. Later that afternoon, I posted an update on my business page. The photos, the facts, the warning. I didn't have to say her name, people knew. Word spread faster than wildfire in dry brush. By sunset, my page had tripled in followers. The next morning, a detective emailed to confirm Karen's counterfeit skincare inventory had been confiscated. Nearly 120 jars of untested product, most stored in unsanitary bins beside lawn fertilizer and dog treats. Disgusting. 3 customers had already come forward to join a class action lawsuit. One had burns, another an infection, and the third, her lawyer was already preparing to file criminal charges for toxic chemical exposure. I showed up to the HOA emergency meeting that Friday with my head held high. Karen's nameplate had been stripped from the board table. Her chair? Empty. Her smug glare? Gone. And me? I was welcomed with applause. Anthony nodded at me across the room. You ready to make this official? I grinned. Let's pass the motion. Unanimous vote. Karen was banned from holding any HOA position for life. Her house was under audit for tax fraud. Her business pages? Deleted overnight. Her brand? Poisoned beyond repair. And me? I rebuilt. With new jars, new loyal customers, and my dignity intact. Let this be a lesson. If you swing wildly with fake lawsuits and lies, you'd better be sure you don't have a counterfeit empire crumbling beneath your own feet. Because karma doesn't knock. Kicks the damn door down. Want more real drama, justice, and twisted endings like this? Subscribe to my YouTube channel for new stories every week, especially the ones where lawsuits backfire hard.